let us introduce our guest speaker. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back again to Image Appeals live stream. I'm your host, Muhammad Reyes, Image Appeals brand ambassador. I'm extremely excited to be here with you today. So, in the modern day virtual landscape, mobile apps have become a crucial part of our daily lives, transforming the way we contact, work, and interact with information. As the demand for mobile apps continues to soar, ensuring a consistent user experience has never been more important. In today's event, we will aim to discuss the tips, tricks, and the best practices for designing mobile apps. But before, let us introduce our guest speaker. With over 30 years of experience, graphic designer Andrew Smith brings a creative spirit and seasoned business expertise to every project at ES Design. As an independent graphic design consultant, Andrew specializes in crafting engaging brand identities, signage, print materials, websites, and more for clients across industries. His entrepreneurial journey has endowed him with valuable insights into operating and marketing a design business in the digital age. Andrew now leverages his decades of hands-on knowledge to mentor aspiring designers on growing a successful and fulfilling creative careers at ES Design. Andrew fuses his bold artistic vision with his strategic business acumen to produce visual communication that captivate audiences and deliver results. Let us experience Breathe Live into your brand, and let's welcome Andrew Smith. Hello, Andrew. How's everything?
Hey, yes, not too bad in yourself. Thank you for having me today. I'm sure that it's going to be a great event, and I'm sure
Absolutely,
we're going to have
for
a
sure.
yeah, absolutely. I'm sure we're going to have a great chat. And yeah, well, let's have a look, see where it goes, where it takes us. Let's talk some nonsense. Let's talk some facts. Let's just have a good time, man. Let's have a good time.
For sure. It's a great privilege to have you again as our guest for today's event. Moving forward to our interview, we've prepared some mind-eliciting questions, and we'd love to be enlightened with your overview and creative conceptions regarding designing mobile apps. First, we'd like to know a brief about yourself. Who's Andrew Smith? I know I introduced you, but we'd like to hear from you, please.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. When you say 33 years, it doesn't actually feel like that, just to give you a small brief introduction, when I started my graphic design career, we were concentrating mainly on paste and layout, and everything was hand-drawn storyboards, and we were using Pantone markers and Rotring pens and rulers, to start crafting our designs, and obviously over the years, I've seen the advent of computers coming into it, and, the whole technology behind graphic design specifically. When I started my graphic design journey, I was all self-taught on the PC, and I managed to get a copy of Windows 3.11, believe it or not, and a copy of CorelDRAW 1. So it just shows you how long I've been working on the PC for. And yeah, and over the years, I've been able to do and work and experience a host of skills ranging from designing in the signage industry, to advertising in magazines, to wide format printing, just lending the expertise. In the early days in South Africa, we didn't have many, we didn't have access to a lot of industrial know-how about the graphic design, as opposed to the first world side of things. And, I just grew from there. Everything is really self-taught. And as I get a little bit in depth into it, go on courses, do a few things, but my main skills have had a huge impact on my career. From package design, as I said, to signage, magazines. I've designed everything from hair care products to diesel petrol logos, to packaging designs, large format billboards. And it's been a hell of a journey. And over the years, I've just tried to incorporate everything that I've in terms of knowledge that I've gained, and try to apply it to the various jobs and creative aspects that I've been trying to work with clients, and just broaden my horizons as it goes. When you see the time span that I've been in the business, you can bet your bottom dollar that I've had access to a huge amount of different formats over the years. And that's pretty much how I've gathered my knowledge over the years. It's been an absolute interesting journey. And these days I tend to be more on the consulting side. I'm not a spring chicken anymore by any means, but it doesn't mean that the creative side of my brain has left me in any ways. But these days I'm not interested in pushing 16, 17, 18 hours a day of design work. So I'm helping young freelancers. I'm helping them navigate the business side of the industry, helping them think in terms of parallel decisions that they're making to help them improve their own technologies, help them improve their way of thinking, helping them gauge the market and trends and all of these types of things. So, these days I'm strictly concentrating on the business side of what I've been doing, and mentoring young aspiring freelancers to move into a real business structure. Because I believe that, freelancers these days, the journey is very, very tough for them. And to earn a steady income, it's extremely tough. So I'm trying to navigate them into more of a business sense and trying to help them capture their essence. They bring the brilliance, I bring the business plans, and hopefully, engaging them in a direction where they will become true entrepreneurs. Because freelancing is great. Like I said, I believe it's for the youngsters.
Mm-hmm.
To become a true entrepreneur.
It's not for a steady salary.
Exactly, yes, exactly. I know what it takes. I've been doing it for a hell of a long time. And there's been times where, if I sit and think about the times where I've had no work, in 33 years, if you look at hours per day, I've probably had no work for maybe in terms of total hours, anything between 1 year to 1.5 years. If you look at the average time that you're working, on your designs and what have you. So it sounds like a lot, but when you look at a 33-year-long journey in terms of hours and times, 1.5 years without work, it sounds a lot. But for youngsters these days, they can't go afford to have no work for 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, 1 day, 2 days a week. Otherwise, most of them just quit. So I understand the pitfalls, and you guys being remote workers, you understand the happenings in and around your business. You know how tough it is, eh? I don't need to tell you that. So, the stability in the salary department, always a problem. Absolutely, always a problem. But I'm trying to help the youngsters, and yeah, sometimes the message gets through. Sometimes it's a little bit tougher because the youngsters are clever these days.
Insightful brief about yourself. Okay, welcome again, Andrew Smith, and it's a time to dive into the questions.
Yes, great.
Designing for mobile apps comes with its own set of challenges and opportunities. So I'd like you to tell me, what are the many challenges and opportunities of designing for mobile apps?
Yes, I think some of the main challenges with regards to designing for mobile apps is obviously the size, smaller screens, designing applications for smaller screen types, typical of mobile devices, pose significant layout and information hierarchical challenges. And this requires UI and UX designers to carefully prioritize, key content and navigation options, that can appropriately fit and move seamlessly between certain mobile devices and tablets and so on. So I think one of the key factors is obviously the size of the platform. The screen real estate, as what it's commonly called, is a big challenge. And then things like probably the device fragmentation. Obviously, as I said, display resolutions, aspect ratios, all of these things, and of course the iOS and Android ecosystems, the cross compatibility between devices and different landscapes. This always proves extremely difficult. So while testing application prototypes directly on real mobile devices helps eliminate these variations, sometimes 100% coverage across all devices is pretty much almost impossible. So I think obviously that being a second key to some of the challenges. And then of course, prior to us setting up today's event, we had a few technical issues. So connectivity, mobile data networks can frequently suffer from slow and unreliable connections, with frequent drops in connectivity. And this, serves to disrupt application performance and reliability. So, mobile designers, they have to account for, the offline usage scenarios and build in optimizations, like background synchronization, to gracefully kind of handle these spotty cellular and Wi-Fi connections. It's a big problem. But that being said, smartphones these days have over 3 billion daily active global users. So it's on the opportunity side, it's a massive built-in audience, that represents a huge addressable market for consumer apps, to be able to, and designers to be able to leverage, mass distribution reach and powerful network effects. So, it might seem like some of the challenges are always there, but, with creativity, phones these days have a rich and expanding array of built-in hardware features, including, high resolution cameras and microphones and GPS sensors and Bluetooth connectivity, Not even to mention, fingerprint biometrics and, which allow for rich feature-driven app experiences. The possibilities are endless, So I think, in terms of the positiveness and opportunities within the mobile app design, it's vast. If you look at the amount of time and distribution of mobile apps over the last 5 to 10 years, it's becoming huge. It's a huge market, where designers are delivering high and personalized and localized app experiences that are specifically designed and catered for individuals. So it's a daily ongoing process of experiencing problems on the UX side as well as the UI side. But I think that some of the main factors that contribute to great positiveness and opportunities is that designers are getting a little bit more in tune with the UX side of it, the user experience side of mobile apps, the psychology behind where to click, how to click, trying to get into the users' heads and try and navigate that process. We're inundated with so much information all the time. So I think, it's vital that the opportunities that are created across the platform are utilized well by the designers. And, we're never going to eliminate all the problems. Yourself, when you start designing, you run into application and prototype errors and framework errors all the time. But I think, with the advent of fantastic softwares these days, it's making it a little bit accessible. I think it's more, if you'd agree with me, it's more scarier than what it actually is. The whole mobile platform designing. But I think the challenges are there, but the opportunities are just as great. So yeah, I think.
Thank you. You just said you just said some set of challenges that may face mobile apps designers, but how can we navigate on those challenges?
What, in terms of trying to sort out the issues?
Try to confront those challenges.
I think it's very basic. If you look at things like proper research, you've got to have extremely good research when you're trying to navigate the mobile industry. It might, maybe I'm making a little bit lightheartedness of the fact that it's a lot scarier than what it is. But I think the research side of it is vitally important, to get real targeted qualitative information from one-on-one interviews and broader surveys, so that you can ask users the goals and their needs and their pains and and uncover detailed product requirements. And you can do that in many forms of fashion. You can just mine the millions of public app stores that are available and reviews on social medias and conversations happening around apps, identifying the common complaints that are usually frequented with development priorities and those types of things. I think, when you're trying to solve these issues from the challenges, it's vital that you understand your demographics as well. understanding your geographies, where your genders are coming from, you know, their income bases, you know, all of these really just to reduce the risk of solely building products, for example, that adopt to tech bubbles, you know, because everybody wants to design an app and they feel that it's a great idea, and all of a sudden they start designing and that bubble pops. So I think it's vital that from the creative side that you understand that research is invaluable, and then obviously you know, to mitigate some of the challenges that you do find with mobile app design. You know, you've got to be creating you know, interactive wireframe prototypes that are really focused on key app flows. You know, it's all about the flow of your app. You know, this allows for you know, realistic usage testing, you know, and obviously it keeps the developmental costs down. You know, if you do your research correctly, and before you commit to full production, you go through continuous testing. You know, these will all put you in good states, because there's a multitude of different types of problems that could come up, you know, from some of the challenges of designing. You know, we all hear in the trade about, you know, evaluating cognitive load, and, you know, making sure that tasks are you know, relatively easy and simple, and they follow a smooth, seamless integration between you know, some of the older tech, some of the older mobile phones, as opposed to some of the newer flip open double screened cell phones or mobiles, whichever term you like to use. You know, here in South Africa we tend to call them more cell phones than mobiles. But, you know, evaluating these types of things, you know, will help you analyze and determine where the severity of the problems are, and the scope, and obviously, you know, the frequency of the problems with regards to the challenges. And some of the easiest things to do is always, you know, fix the biggest pain points affecting the largest customer segments first. You know, so there are, you know, and obviously intuition when you're a designer, you know, no longer can designers these days rely on their intuition from a skills base. You know, you have to think of outside the boxes, and you have to, and especially in mobile, you know, you have to be quite parfait with the UX side of things. You know, as I said, you know, the user experience is vital. You know, without understanding user experience, all the design flow work and prototypes and everything that you do is absolutely useless. You know, you've got to basically get into, you've got to get inside the head of your consumer and really get in touch with that. You know, it's a key point. It's really a key point.
For sure. So moving to the next one, user research and testing are crucial components for mobile app design process. How do you approach the user research and testing the process for mobile app design?
Yeah, you know, as I said, it's as part of, you know, these kind of things filter in with what we were just talking about with regards to the challenges. You know, continuous testing. You know, if I could just reach out broader on the testing side of it, you know, because I did speak briefly on the research side of it. You know, the testing is always vital. You know, once you start moving into a production phase, you look at your app and you start seeing the dollars ticking over slowly. So I think testing across multiple devices You know, these days there's an array of devices, from smart watches to you know, old tech mobile phones, fold out
iPads.
mobile phones, you know, iPads, tablets. You know, there's a huge array of that. So it's vital that testing plays an integral part of your design process, because without that, you are going to struggle. You know, not only from an application point of view, or if you look at your operating systems, but also from hardware, because the operating systems tend to be a little bit more advanced than what the hardware. You know, hardware is always battling to catch up. So I think you know, conducting moderate tests early on, and as often as possible with members of your target user segments, you know, that just refines the product. And, you know, you get observer notes and direct user feedback. And, you know, all of these things help tremendously, especially when you look at the production side of it, and as well, when you're talking to your bosses and they say, how much money are you spending? Why are you spending? You need to make sure that all of these testings are done 100%, because it's extremely difficult to withdraw an app off the shelf, go back to Groundworks and restructure it again, go through all the problems and try and find the solutions. You know, if you prioritizing issues by severity and users affected, you know, you just look at your possibilities for trying to determine the severity and the scope and the frequency of your problems. And you know, once you start testing, you'll know exactly where you're going, you know, with regards to user feedback, and from designers to actual applicants who are using the mobile technology. You'll be able to get a firm grasp, and you need to act on it quick, you know, because once it's out there in the ether, you can do so much detriment to your product if you don't jump on problems extremely fast and solve the solutions extremely quickly. So yeah, it's something. So I think, you know, in the research and testing areas, it's important. Now I feel that a lot of younger designers are not quite on track with these types of things, because there are a lot of designers that can design fantastic stuff, you know, really. But dealing with the crucial issues of testing and research, that takes a bit of knack. And sometimes you might need to bring in outside people. So, you know, just look at those two factors, testing and research, and just make sure that they covered. Because usually the designers know what they're doing most of the time. It's the problems coming to the research from a research and testing angle. So yeah, I think
thank you. Awesome. That's awesome. Absolutely. So creating a responsive and adaptive mobile app design is essential for providing a seamless user experience across various devices and screen sizes. So we'd like to know as well, what are some of the best practices and tools for creating responsive and adaptive mobile app design?
Yeah, that's where the creative stuff comes in, doesn't it? Hey?
Yep.
Yeah, you know, 3 points easy. You know, you've got to make it as easy as possible. If you have a minimalistic outlook on every app that you're going to start off and design, I think you need to be looking at, you know, making sure that you're using flexible layouts, you know, grids and responsive user interface components, you know, using flexible grid systems and images and text blocks and you know, interactive components is absolutely critical for responsive mobile apps. You know, as screen sizes change across devices, You know, a flexible interface can generally rescale smoothly between different sizes, you know, so that you don't have a jump between set breakpoints. You know, this provides for a more seamless user experience. So I think you've got to look at the flexibility and the minimalistic approach to your designs, you know, and in addition, you know, to using flexible layouts, you know, you've got to identify key screen sizes, you know, where layouts should change more dramatically, whether it be, and this may include, you know, phones, tablets, foldable smartphone sizes, and all of these types of things. I think, you know, design distinct optimized interfaces for these breakpoint categories. You know, there's so many of them. So, you know, especially if there's a dramatic shift in screen real estate or orientation between the devices, you know, relying completely on flexible scaling has its limitations. But I think, you know, you probably just got to focus on core mobile use cases. Perhaps, you know, determine maybe the best 2 or 3 important tasks users will want to complete in an app, and streamline those workflows. You know, identify the ways to simplify and, as I said, pare down the interactions for mobile efficiency. You know, when you're looking at well-defined user use cases, you know, you've got to match it closely to the mobile tech, or the laptop, or the smartphone, or whatever you're using. You've got to adapt it on this constrained real estate. So, you know, I think you've got to, as always, you've got to enhance and you've got to take advantage of all the speciality features on newer devices, you know, probably while ensuring a baseline experience for the older ones. You know, for example, use, for example, custom hardware sensors or displays, you know, allow for innovative interactions, but they don't neglect accessibility, especially for older generation tech. You know, and you know, carefully adopting leading edge features, you know, versus maintaining support for aging devices. You know, find a reasonable middle ground for progressively enhancing versus adequate platform compatibility. You know, that I'd say it's probably all important, you know, and as screen sizes shift across devices, flexibly grow or shrink elements like images, buttons, and components to full available space. You know, expand interfaces on tablets, while, you know, you've got to relax a little on the expansion to avoid overcrowding and overlapping interfaces on mobiles, for example. You know, maintaining visible tap targets. You know, if you design for the thumb, then we have thumbs up, because you know, fingers are a lot less precise than mouse cursors. So size and space buttons accordingly, you know, and as I said, design for the thumb. You know, most people are thumb scrolling, so, you know, you've got large touch point areas. So, you know, consistent interactive zones are critical on mobile. You know, and then probably in general, you know, design your buttons and touch points to around anything between 8 to 10 millimeters in size, maybe going up to 16 millimeters in size, you know, depending on you know, the spacing to accommodate average finger pad or touch screens. You know, I think some of the lesser known, and I think these are critical because the previous bits and pieces that I've mentioned have relatively been all kind of either the hardware and design orientated side of things, but I think some of the crucial points is optimizing background processing. You know, use background syncing, caching, preloading, and processing to hide delays. You know, the ultimate goal is to hide spooling and buffering and all of these types of functional, you know, problems and stuff that happens in the background. So I think, you know, if you even well-optimized flows anticipate delays, whether it's from limited bandwidth or offline functionality or just even normal processing, I think building delightful mobile experiences means almost masking the nearly all the visible loading. So I think that is really a key element in my brain. Something that is not often looked at because everybody is design orientated, but so much does go into the back end of these things. And some of the key factors, as I said, like the well-optimized flow is really, really crucial. Yes, you know, if the guys don't get that right, then, you know, you're probably going to be looking at some serious problems. And then, you know, just basically, there's so many tools out there that, you know, designers can use, you know, and some of the most accessible and easy platforms to work on are things like Framer and Figma and Adobe X. I'm not a big Adobe X fan. You know, I'm still pretty old. I use a lot of old school tech. As long as I know the sizes.
I don't have much idea on Figma and all those apps because I'm specialized in Adobe Suitcase more than UI UX design. So
yeah, so you're working on the Adobe platform as it is. You know, over the years, I've used a multitude of platforms to do. You know, there's no one specific thing. As a designer, what I have noticed is that, for example, if I design a button, you know, I don't need to go into Adobe XD or any of the Adobe suites. I just go back to my long history with CorelDRAW. I design my button within CorelDRAW, make sure that the sizing is correct. And as long as you can export the right format, you have a win. So I don't think that you really need, especially for me, I don't feel that I have to and really need to direct myself onto one specific platform. But I think for newer generation guys, you know, if you stick to a platform, and all of these are online based, if you're not carrying any of the Adobe Suite products, you know, Figma is great because it's your virtual sketchpad. You know, you can share canvases. If we were working between me and you, if we were working on a project, it would basically be a shared screen. You can click and say, well, let's change this color to that. Let's move this down. Let's get the hugging right. Let's, you know, decrease the padding, increase the point size. Hey, yeah, click that, try this one. So, you know, it has its benefits. And then, of course, if you know any of the Adobe products, you know, then Adobe XD, I believe, is extremely great for prototyping, you know, and making your design sleek and come to life. But then, of course, you need other. I'm not sure what stack you use, but you know, if you're looking to work on different devices and that. You know, there's all sorts. A very common one is Browser Stack, and there's a few others, you know, that'll help you create and shine on different platforms. So I think, you know, the skills and tools and everything It's pretty easy. It takes a lot of ingenuity to work out the programs. So rely on your design skills, work within the program structures. Yeah, and you know, for the newbies coming into it, just try it out. You know, it's as I said, maybe I'm putting the horse before the, or should I say the cart before the horse here. I don't think that it's terribly difficult, but maybe it is. I'm not actually 100% sure. So yeah.
Yeah, if we, what do you think if we go back 10 years? So about the mobile UI was like iOS was like 3D icons. Right now it's more about flat one. What's your
Yes.
opinion about that?
Well, if you're going to start creating, my advice is always looking at the most simplest forms to communicate the information. You know, as soon as you start implementing seriously advanced tech, especially on the design side, it might not carry through on various applications and various types of mobile or any other devices. So, you know, it's an extremely difficult thing to balance, because as creative people, we want to have all the creative flair, but sometimes they don't translate well across platforms. You know, a simple idea is, if you use an emoji on one device, on Apple, for example, and you try and transfer it to Android, you get a totally different look and feel. Sometimes the entire proportion and size of these icons are always different. So I think, you know, it's going to be difficult to try and tell the really creative people to hang back on their creativeness. So yeah, you know, how do you feel about it? What do you personally feel about it? You know,
I think it's yeah. I feel like it's more seamless right now, because
it is.
back, yeah, it's more seamless, you know, because
Well, I
10
think
years ago
back end,
iOS like a
I think the back end is making it look more seamless. That's where it's happening. You know, the back end.
I feel comfortable while I'm using it.
Okay, yeah, but you know
Yeah.
what? In my opinion, sometimes the flatter the better.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for all of us.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that was absolutely awesome, insightful perspective. So moving forward, balancing aesthetics and functionality is crucial aspect of mobile app design. How do you balance the aesthetics and functionality of mobile app design?
Wow, that is a tough question. You know, if as we just spoke, you know, the aesthetics, as opposed to well, the back end and the functionality. Designers want to create great looking stuff. Real hardcore back end app designers, they want functionality, because when you start bringing in unknown elements and the creative things, you always have this battle between aesthetics and functionality. But I think, you know, on saying that, you've got to stick to native UI guidelines and patterns, you know, number one. You know, leverage platform conventions. You know, when I mean conventions, I'm talking things like swipes and taps and scrolls. And you know, users know these, and it's been developed over the years. So everybody knows that the close buttons are generally in the top right-hand corner. Everybody knows that the save buttons are generally down to the lower end of the apps and so on. So I think you've got to leverage these basic functions. However, when you're creating, to balance that functionality and aesthetics, you have to be careful of, we were talking about 3D icons and so on. You have to be careful about overusing tired generic icons that feel, overplayed. But I think if you want to enhance the aesthetics through the branding and so on, this is where possibly you've got to look at, relying on your graphic skills. Now, this I see is lacking in a lot of youngsters, because the computers actually, in my opinion, over the years have made things a lot easier. So are the designers true artists? Many of them are not. Because all you need to do is learn the interface and you can create. But do you have the aesthetic skills to create and visually, know what color is? The balance between typography, color, layout, all of these strengthen brand identities, but it's difficult to combine the two, and you've just got to be careful that your style choices don't interfere with the readability of the app's visual side, low contrast and small fonts and those types of things. So it's always a huge balance. But coming back to kind of like the performance side of it, I think benchmark speed for page loads, number one. Transitions, common actions that set target ideas from a design point of side. You've got to set those targets, to be able to catch efficiency usages, and if you don't get it right, then you start allowing lag to creep into your designs. The functionality, the speed, everything starts being affected by using extremely overcomplicated designs. So I think if you just audit, all your interface elements all the time, it will give you a concrete goal in what you're doing, because sometimes designers are just doing it for visual spice. But you have to have make sure that all of your elements are really, really concreted in good elemental design. As I said earlier on, making sure that you're sticking to native user guidelines and those types of things. That way you can make sure that you're going to have less refinement problems later on in the design process. And once the app is launched, perhaps you might have less comebacks and questions and so on. So I think around the contents and features, they can all be logically grouped into many different ways, requiring different exploration avenues from the designer's side. But just structure your navigation pathways around user intuition instead of visual priorities. It's, for a designer, that's extremely difficult to say, structure navigation pathways around visual properties, because I'm a visual person. I want to create the most funkiest designs out there. But if you know the structure behind designing for apps, it kind of like puts you in check, So I think understanding the UX side and the the UI side and the UX user experience side, it's crucial, and it takes some learning. You've got to curb yourself, rein yourself in, because I'm sure you as a designer, you want to design the best, flashiest stuff out there, and it's not easy, man. It's not easy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Measuring the success and impact of mobile app design involves assessing various factors related to user experience, user engagement, business goals, and overall effectiveness. How do you measure the success and impact of mobile app design?
Yeah. If you're looking at the success of your mobile app, if you're looking to really hone that in and make sure that your success rate is man, it's down pat. You've got to obviously start with the basics, making sure that you start off on the right foot. You know, when you are trying to measure success in the development of your app, sometimes it's not the easiest thing to do, because you've got your clients perhaps, or if you're in collaboration with engineers, you've always got issues between who does what, how is it going. So measuring the success of your mobile apps, and not only measuring the success of the mobile apps, but also measuring the entire process and guiding yourself through the entire process is extremely difficult. You know, evaluating the success and impact of mobile design apps can really start off with tracking both quantitative metrics and qualitative feedback across the entire, you know, it's got to be across the entire customer journey. You know, not only are we talking about the customer journey from the customer's point of view, but everything else in between. You know, key quantitative metrics provide indicators on things like engagement and usage. You know, these might include the number of downloads, new user activations, retention. What are some of the others? Possibly session lengths per visit, number of page views, and obviously lastly, monthly and daily active users. You know, these trends are basically the core metrics, and they shed light on all of the effectiveness on measuring success for long-term and during the design process, between, as I said, the designers having their own ideas and the engineers having their own ideas as well. You know, and if you're looking, you know, while high-level metrics, you know, are probably more directed at analyzing user drop-off points and, you know, flows provided, more targeted insights. Here you'll need to use analytics tools to see where users exit key flows, where they're stopping, why are they disengaging. You know, this all helps identify confusing interfaces, you know, and pain points in the app's information architecture, because sometimes it might be a user problem. He might just get disinterested and stop using an app, or it could be an information architecture problem. So addressing areas of excessive drop-off directly improves the critical conversion functions of your app. Now, we all know an app is there specifically for one thing. It's kind of like a top funnel situation where you're attracting people down a funnel through this whole idea of what the app is about, what you're trying to sell, how it's moving, and so on, and then obviously into the conversion funnel. So, you know, that conversion funnel is highly important. So if you're measuring your success, you want to get bang for bucks, you know, bottom line. You want to make sure that people are are using the app to convert. You know, there's a lot of subjective feedback via App Store reviews that you can measure your success by, obviously positive and negative, and you've just got to be able to you know, go through that positive and negative emotional sentiment, and this, you know, will reveal how users are using your app, whether they actually like your app, and it quantifies key performance indicators for return on investment. You know, benchmarks like revenue per active user, you know, and I think some of the guys on that are, you know, working in Google Ads and these types of platforms will know exactly what I'm talking about, because you want to identify specific users, their referral rates. The data is extremely important. So benchmarks like revenue per active user, referral rates, and long-term users, you know, they all almost connect the customer whole experience into financial returns for you if you're an independent app builder, or if you're building it for somebody else. You know, this evidence helps secure ongoing stakeholder support for UX initiatives. And I think, you know, finally, in summarizing it up, you know, optimizing mobile design, it kind of requires a composite overview, you know, between qualitative and quantitative, short-term and sustained outlooks. You know, regular measurements provide the feedbacks that are essential for continuous improvement, you know, and obviously, hopefully delighting mobile customers, you know, bottom line.
If I created a mobile app design and a mobile app and overall, so I put it, after that I put it on Google to show people how much my mobile app is can solve your problems, and do I have the access to put fake reviews on App Store or something like that?
No,
To show
generally
people how much it's succeed.
No, in my views, yes and no. Okay, let's put it this way. You know, there are engineers that can maneuver around the back ends to do all of these things. You know, there's absolutely, you know, if something is out there, there's always going to be someone else that has the ability to craft back end works and manipulate results and what have you. But ultimately, you're doing one of two things. You're killing yourself, okay? Genuinely, because if your app doesn't work, the bottom line is no one is going to use it. I'm telling you now, they're going to download your app, and within 20 or 30 or 40 seconds, they're going to hit snags, complications. The general workflow isn't going to be seamless and smooth and what have you, and automatically they're going to be downloading, or should I say uninstalling your apps. So there are various, I think within the platform itself, it's difficult to manipulate these factors, but outside user app data centers, whether it be a third party, you know, you can go onto any third party app review system and write 20, 30 great, you know, app reviews about your apps. Am I not right? But at the end of the day, yes, you know, it's you got to have that ethical essence in your body. But can it be done? Maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but yes, it can be done.
It can be done, unfortunately.
Yes.
Okay.
So, as I said, unfortunately, it is the dark side of what we're doing, because there are a lot more cleverer guys than what I am. Believe me. and you know,
Trust you. Okay. So, what are some of the latest trends and innovations in the mobile app design?
some of the latest trends. Wow, I think, you know, if you're looking to keep up your keep up with the sign of the times, I think you know, you've got to have a look at you know, continuously using new devices with different OS versions.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm,
it's important to download continually using your different app systems. Whether you're using, I don't know, do you specifically design on Android, or do you specifically design across platforms for Apple
mhm,
and Android, or Titanium, or Flutter, or whatever it might be? You know, I think it's important to download the latest trends in the softwares itself, just so that you can keep up with your skills, keep up the mobile, especially on the operating systems. You know, and if you're working in a company that's specifically designing for apps, if you're not
mhm,
asking your bosses or your heads of department for budgets for purchasing new phones and tablets,
mhm,
so that you can continuously update your skills on the latest hardware, well, then I think you should be, because, you know, designing on designing apps on some of the newest stuff is obviously going to give you the upper edge. You know, and
mhm,
if you're looking at some of the latest trends, you know, you've got to go into design conferences and industry events, because,
mhm,
you know, often um, industry events offer sneak peeks into upcoming platform evolutions, and you know, whether it be on foldable screens, new
mhm,
tech on foldable screens, and the link with 5G. You know, a lot of the capabilities haven't hit the market full blown yet. So if you can get up to date with these things, you know, it'll put you in great stead. You know, and if you can just keep increasing your networking opportunities to meet different talents across, you know, a multitude of industries, you know, you're always going to learn your best practices and what have you. And man, I can't iterate it even more. You know, you've got to keep up to date with the technical specs. Now, I must admit, this is a very, very touchy thing for me, because it's an extremely difficult thing to keep up with the technical specs all the time. You know, they're constantly changing. But I think if you just keep an insight into the mobile platforms and the technical specifications and source guides and these types of things, you know, this will inspire you to keep up with the technical side of it. And then, of course, you know, you can follow thought leaders. You know, some of the biggest trends that we see today are coming out from really, really good thought leaders in the mobile industry. So follow these guys, you know, whether it's on blogs or newsletters, or social media posts from leading companies like Apple and Google and some of the top
mhm,
digital agencies. You know, they'll help you with you know, design trends, and keep you up to date.
mhm,
It's all important that when you working
mhm,
on screens, on different sizes and all of these types of things, you know, you've got to be able to sharpen your skills, your adaptive skills. You know, whether you learn how to design 96px
mhm,
or 132px or
mhm,
168px, etc., at a bare minimum. You know, these latest trends will help you to service the design ecosystem. You know, so I think it's vital just to keep abreast, because it's always changing. You know, and possibly one of the least places that people are really looking to advance and look at different trends is probably not within the mobile app industry. You know, you've got to look at some of the parallel industries, whether you pursue the service side of the business or the ecosystem side and platform design, to help identify more impactful user needs. I think that is where the cutting edge stuff is really going to be coming from, is thinking out the box and not so much in terms of your own apps and what you're currently building. Because, as I said, user experience is always vital. So how are you going to get user experience is by assimilating yourself and looking across multiple omni-channels, for example, and look at a broader type of mobile experience. I think, those will help.
Since you raised a very good point about UI design patterns, can you let our audience or young Gen Z people get to know more about design systems, since it plays a very crucial design guide nowadays?
In terms of the design system, what just give me a little bit more clarification there.
So you just raised a very good point about UI design patterns. I'm talking about design systems. For instance, I didn't have much idea about UI UX design systems, and it's almost about
carry on. Now you're talking more about keeping your design skills updated, or the actual platforms itself. Sorry, you just broke up there.
I was talking about the design system, since it plays a very crucial design guide nowadays.
Oh, okay. The design system you're talking about from start through to pitched or to customer,
like Google Material Design. iOS has its own.
Oh, yes. Okay, I'm with you. Well,
like human interface guidelines.
Yes, I think the across the entire platform, whether you're using Android or Apple, I'm not a big Apple user at all, so I can't really comment on the operating systems there. But I think the flow and all of these types of smaller details which help the back ends flow, they all work in an integral part, starting from whether you're using flexible layouts or anything with regards to the seamless user experience. If you're using grid systems based on relative units like percentages or viewports, you can create flexible columns and rows to contain your content, combining it with the responsive images and fonts and the UI interface, user interfaces, create fully adaptive interfaces. So I think it's about being flexible, and identifying your key breakpoints, whether it be on the tech side or whether it be on the operating system itself. Now the operating system, is extremely complicated. It's a very technical side of it. Usually most of the geeky engineers, they tend to have a good solid grasp on that. And I think with a lot of the, especially if you're working in Figma and all of these types of baseline platforms to help you to create, I think they allow for a lot of creative side of things, and leaving the systems operations to just flow integrated into the background. you know, whether you are using Figma or whether you are using your Adobe, I'm sure that they all have integrated platforms, integrated systems to help structure your prototyping and your wireframing and all of these types of things, to be able to have a seamless integration between the actual stark reality of the operating system itself versus the fluidity and the aesthetics of your front end. So it's always a big balance between the two. You know, it's an ever-changing field, man, ever-changing. Sometimes I can't even...
With that being said, collaboration is crucial in mobile app design projects to ensure that the final product meets the requirements and expectations. How do you collaborate with developers and other stakeholders in mobile app design projects?
Yeah, now this actually might also just reinforce the issues or the questions behind the actual operating systems and between different integrated systems that everybody uses, because not everybody is skilled across Android Q, for example, or any of the Android platforms, whatever version you're running on. Some might not be as integrated as on the Apple. You know, I don't even own an Apple, so for me it's Android, and it's always been Android. So I think on the collaboration side with developers and stakeholders, you know, bringing engineers into the design process from start, you know, I will always bring an engineer in, you know, even if it's just to collaborate on a small thing, because some of the technical advancements behind the operating systems, you know, is crucial. And I'm not a coder by heart, so for me to understand the real back-end source code is extremely difficult. So I think just bringing engineers into the design process from the start and collaborating with them, you know, provides feedback on technical limitations around around animations and interactions or capabilities that may require compromises in your design. Because I might design something and the engineer says, well, it's great, it's lovely, you know, as I said, I'm a designer, so I design, and, you know, well, it's great, but we're going to run into hiccups here or whatever. So getting their input in early on in the proposals, you know, generally prevents pain points and rework in later development. You know, design really ends completely at spec documentation and asset delivery. You know, it's important to stay available during the, you know, entire development, all the way through launch to answer questions, follow-ups, provide guidances, and those types of things. So, you know, the ongoing collaboration just ensures that the final product matches the intent, whether you're working solely on your own, or it matches the intent of your customer, or it matches the intent of your stakeholders, the guys that are backing you. You know, specification documents, you know, should always leave nothing unturned. You know, if you've got to you know, set up the documents, your pre-work, all your research and what have you, you know, you've got to be calling out every font, every asset, you know, every margin size, you know, and these types of things, just to prevent you know, misinterpretation in your design, especially where crucial elements are involved. And then, of course, we talk about learning the native platforms, you know, iOS and Android. You know, they have subtle differences, as I said, in both UI capabilities and UX paradigms. You know, designers should, you know, and I expect the newer up-and-coming designers, they should, you know. As I said, I'm not really parfait in the Apple side of things. But I think designers should understand the guidelines for each, my honest opinion. This is the teacher saying, well, I don't, but I think you should. I think nowadays they should, just to ensure designing appropriately across different target platforms. This native, just improves the whole workflow. And obviously the general stuff that most companies struggle with is to build, shared cultures, between the different role players, functional teams like the design workshop, perhaps, they need to build mutual and understanding empathy between the engineers, and, they have to foster collaborative culture. It always nurtures great missions, and it always nurtures great products. And then, we were talking early on about some of the tools, like Figma and Framer and Adobe. And I think this is also a very important point that I'm going to say. We have to kind of collaborate on tools, between myself and the engineers, perhaps. And, it just streamlines everything. It also provides a single, how can I put it, source of truth reference. If there are problems and you need troubleshooting, if some designers are using this platform and the engineers are not familiar with it, and there's too many third parties in and out, each using their own tools, when
helping each others,
when the problems start hitting, no one knows where to troubleshoot. So I think the standardization and collaboration on tools, at least, you've got to have one or two that people are familiar with, and possibly that's why some of the it's very difficult for me to say this, but I think some of the more skilled designers that are concentrating on this day in and day out, like yourself, need to broaden and look at some of the Figma-based products, so that you at least have some sort of an idea on those, because not a lot of guys are going to be working on the Adobe suites. If they're doing on the design side, they might be using the Adobe platform just to create logos and icons and buttons and all of these types of things, but they might not translate well on your platform or whatever. So I think, some of the open source type softwares, they, as I said early on, things like Figma, and there's a whole host of them, but they're all virtual. So while I'm working, you can work on the same project. We can integrate, we can look at, we can talk, and we can build upon that. And it's no passing off, sending zip files across email. You open it up, you check it, you send back to me, and vice versa. So I think aligning with collaboration on tools is important. And then, lastly, perhaps, aligning on prioritization of frameworks. We were talking about frameworks. Teams should really define clear criteria for sequencing items on design and developmental roadmaps, and even things like Figma and places like that all have these roadmaps where you can physically put the structure and the layout and the flow and balancing the business goals with the technical constraints. You disappeared there for a second. Yeah, so this alignment on framework just really optimizes the entire planning process. So I think maybe that probably answered your question a little bit better about the frameworks and the prioritization of these types of things, because they all work hand in hand with the collaboration tools, frameworks, you know, best practices in culture, and obviously learning native basic platforms and these types of things, you know, will help
Yes.
to grow the product, you know, because that's what you want to do. You want to grow the product.
Yeah. Yes, really, sure. We got really empowered by your overview and thoughts regarding designing mobile apps. So we've prepared a little engaging game I would like to share with you.
Yes.
Okay, let's move to the, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, there we go.
Okay, the game called Guess the Correct UI. Okay, it's a pretty easy, pretty simple, but as well as engaging. Okay, first one we have here. Which one is correct of those?
Best user interface, I would say would probably be the one on the right.
Why did you choose that?
I think in terms of user experience, first and foremost, the most striking difference is the contrasts in color. And I think, you know, that's where you, you know, if you look at that, it just stands out and pops, you know. The user experience is vital. You know, so
let's move forward. Yeah, correct. Moving to the next one. Which one is correct from both?
Once again, obviously the one on the right.
Why?
Same thing, you know. We're looking at specific buttons there, or it could be a button, I'm not sure, but obviously on the pricing, so you've got a distinct contrast between your image and your costing. Whereas on the left, you've obviously you've got it lost there a little bit.
It just it demonstrates the price here and make your eyes just go to the price.
Yes, it's basically enhancing that flow. You know, obviously we'll see the rest of it, but obviously it might say something on the top of, you know, purchase now or whatever, and you know your flow of your eyes might take you down to a price, and you know it's great. You know, it keeps the flow. I think that's all important on the user experience side is the flow, and this is where the design elements do come into it. You know, contrast between highlighted areas, you know, things that pop, things that are a little bit more subtle. You know, we're talking about screen real estate, and we're talking about something that's very small. So you've got to have your criteria down, focus on your core three things, you know, whatever that might be, if it's price or awareness or product or, you know, pinpoint your
Thanks
accuracy.
for explaining for the audience. Let's move to the answer. Yeah, it's correct. Let's proceed to the next one. Which one is correct? And I need you to tell me why, because this absolutely I haven't figured it out since they created it.
Oh, is it? Okay, well, for me, it's extremely simple. The initial buttons on all mobile devices for phone down or disconnect has always been red.
Why this, Carlo?
Your answer is, or your question is as good as mine. You know, if you can go back to even before we had touch screens on telephones and all of those types of things, we had push. I don't know if you ever owned an old Nokia 3110 or even one of those earlier phones. What color was the answer button, and what color was the C-score? It was red. So
Right.
in terms of that, I believe that the one on the right, now it might be an old school thing, but as we were talking about user functionality and trying to make sure that the breakpoints that you concentrate, people are familiar with the red button being answer, a green button being answer calling, and put down phone is red. So I think these types of things, it could be a bit of a tongue in twisting kind of one, but I would say the one on the right. What do you say?
Got it. Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
Why they would put it as blue, I don't know.
It's just maybe because the blue seems like for people kind of agreements, kind of the agreement.
Okay.
Like the green one.
Yeah.
It's a little bit familiar to the green one.
Yes, I think the use of blue, man, I'm not sure. I think it just depends on the app, really. If the app is based around the blue, I think just the icon in the middle of the phone would indicate a specific task to be done. But I still don't believe that it's the right thing, because even if I'm looking at that, does that mean that I'm clicking out of the app, or does that mean I'm finished with the app? Does that mean, what does it mean? So, it's difficult, but it's probably a debatable one. But, I would stick with the traditional colors, green, red, your mics and the rest of them. It's all new age stuff, so you can put any color, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. But our eyes got comfortable on the red one. That means you gotta hang out with, So this one, which one is correct?
Oh, I have to put on my spectacles here. They look both the same to me. Oh, the alignment.
Yeah.
The one on the right is correct. I see that the alignment enable camera is slightly off. They didn't quite get the justification right there.
On the right.
Yes, the one on the right is correct.
Because of the alignment. Right.
Yes, yeah, there we go, the vertical.
Proceeding with this one.
Now, I've had issues with this before, because in terms of actually differentiating between the two. Now, this is also a debatable thing, because obviously, my opinion, the one on the left is right. But then again, the one on the right is also right, in my view, because it gives you that distinction of choice, that break between inviting friends or skipping. Now, skipping would be almost like a total disbandment of that particular open call pop-up. I'm assuming it would be a pop-up or a static image on there. So it's a little bit, but I think the truism in me would probably say that the left is okay, but I'm not too averse with the one on the right. It might work in certain applications because it gives you that distinction between either inviting or skipping. So for me, it's a little bit of a 50-50, but I'll just go with my gut and say, go with the tried and tested and go for the left version.
For the left one. I really appreciate your overview, because it might seem for most of the people that on the right is right and on the left is wrong. And it seems for me it depends on the people point of views, as you said.
Yeah,
and I got a little bit confused about this one as well. and let's go. I know the answer, but let's see the
before you show the answer, I think something like this is not quite as clear cut, if I can put it that way, because the visual experience that you get now, for me, it could be, you know, maybe just my analytical brain says to me, okay, fine. There's a distinction on the right between the skip version, okay. Maybe they could have made the just a blue outline on the padding around the skip button and kept
probably
it
the
white.
distinction makes it so different.
Yes, the distinction comes into the action that you're trying to get the person to take.
And that's good per se.
Yes, of course, that's what you want. So now you know exactly why I would say whichever version you're going to say is correct, I would say that there would probably be a 50-50 chance that in certain applications, both of them are correct. That's just my you know, overall.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it for sure. On the right, the right one.
Okay.
Okay. Moving forward to this one, which one is correct? Here's a subtle distinction.
Yes,
maybe
a capital S, and I've seen both. I've seen
maybe
both.
with the size of the word search.
Yeah, well, I think the size is the same on both sides. It's just the capital letters that are different. It's difficult to see here. I've got a big flat screen here, so I've got to put my glasses on. But the only varying difference that I can see is possibly the capital S. I have seen both, but I would go with the one on the right.
Okay. I'm going with you on the right because of the words research, because of the word search.
I think it just lends itself to a better, you know, the text, funnily enough, depending on the accents and the size and the leading. Now the leading and kerning between letter spacing and word spacing and all of these types of things can invoke a different feeling, as well as capitalizations of typography within your best practices for your front-end designs. You know, so you've got to look at these things. It's quite critical that you look at streamlining your fonts, making sure that font sizes are correct, and obviously using capitalizations in certain area. When you're scrolling through your app, let me tell you, you'll probably, even though there's no real difference in my opinion, because both on the screen like this, you can see both of them. But when you're scrolling through an app, just the fact that you've got a capitalized first letter will make all the difference. Yes?
For sure.
Yeah.
Let's go with this one.
What typeface is this? That is Optima.
Okay, let's go and see the answer. Optima. Right, correct. Yeah. And this one?
Times New Roman.
Let's see the answer. Okay. Right. And this one?
That's very, very close, but I'd go Times D Roman again.
On the right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Congratulations. Maybe you got 1 point missed because of the difference of point of views, you know.
Well, that's not bad, eh?
Absolutely.
I must admit, my last when was it, in April? No, July, when I was discussing with Image Appeal fans on multicultural designing. And Kenzo and myself, we had a little test and competition afterwards. And I, in terms of design and what have you, I did miserably bad, So I'm actually glad I redeemed myself a little bit.
Okay, well, absolutely. I want to thank you once again that you shared with us your creative thoughts and conceptions about regarding designing for mobile apps. Okay, guys, let's get to know more about Image Appeal. If you need branding, logo identity, social media, web, any specific print or digital marketing design, absolutely we can help you. Image Appeal is an integrated design agency. We specialize in almost all arenas of graphic design. We're operated by learning, educating, innovating, and creating, thus delivering output. A fast growing agency with a talented creative team. Our style is to keep up with consistently shifting and changing norms of this dynamic industry. We admire people who do business, launch projects, create, trade, and produce. Image Appeal will help you create an aesthetic, intelligent, unique, and practical design, especially tailored for your business, providing exclusive graphic designs for corporate and startup businesses, developing awareness and consistent recognition, ensuring to bring your ideas to life with unique design solutions, communicated it effectively to stand out on marketplace. We're reliable in managing projects with high priority and meeting deadlines. You'll have guaranteed quality service and an efficient design process from the beginning to the end. Above all, we specialize in creating exclusive, modern, clean, and minimal design style work for any business industry. Contact us right now and we will solve all your business challenges using design instruments. Please visit our portfolio and discover our previous work at www.imageappeal.com, as well as follow our social media accounts. There you have it, guys. I hope you had fun with us, especially you, Andrew. It's such a great experience for us to have you again at this event.
Great. I appreciate it, Es. Really, I do. It was always good fun. I love your energy.
Anything you'd like to say?
No, not really. I'm just thankful to you and the Image Appeal team again. I hope I brought some sort of value in my mumblings today. If I can just leave you with one thing, I think, ask questions, keep fighting. Make sure that your customers get what they ask for. Push the boundaries. Look at solving issues critically and trying to get forward in life in whatever you do. Just keep it, as always, shiny side up. Smile, and I love your enthusiasm. You bring that to the Image Appeal team, and it's great. It's this that enlightens and broadens the creative spirit in all of us. So great. Measure your success on a daily basis. Look to collaborate, and handle feedback as best you can. That's my last and final word.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for listening. Once again, I'm your host Muhammad Reyes, Image Appeal's brand ambassador at this event. I hope you learned something new and exciting. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive. Stay tuned for our next episodes. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Cheers.